So when you talk about taking it to like the page and you're like, maybe I need to rework it on the page, Wayne Flake asks, like, what is your favorite writing technique? And maybe make that plural in terms of like, what are some of your go-to writing techniques to kind of put your jokes through a checklist type deal?
Yeah, well, when I started, my main technique was to write every day. Sit down for 2 hours, and that was a block of time that worked for me. It's different for everyone, but I would encourage people to go for 2 hours because sometimes in that first hour, nothing really comes, you know? Sometimes you're sitting there and maybe just a few sentences or whatever. But if you know I'm in this chair for 2 hours, my phone is off, I'm not looking, and I write with a pen and paper too, mostly because I don't want the distraction of potentially logging onto the internet or looking at my Facebook or whatever else. So for me, pen and paper means it's just me. I'm in this chair, I'm with my thoughts, and I know I'm here for 2 hours. I don't care what happens. I don't care what distractions come up. I'm just staying and writing. And if you do that for 5 days a week, for a month, for 2 months, for 6 months, really what you're doing is you're learning your voice. You're learning your process. You're spending intimate time with yourself, which is important, because when you go up in front of a crowd, you are making a request for their attention. You're asking for their focus to be on you. So what have you done to earn that? Have you put in the time? Have you put in the hours? Do you know what you have to say? Because if you don't know what you have to say and you don't know who you are, it begs the question, do you really deserve to ask a room of people to listen? Now, of course, you do deserve it because you're a human being and you're offering your thoughts and you're offering, your creativity. So that has its own merit. But I'm talking about in the grand scheme of like being a professional and getting everything. Yeah, I'm not just talking about an open mic at a coffee shop. Don't get me wrong. Everybody has the right to get up on stage. That's great. But I'm talking about really sitting with yourself and discovering who you are. So that takes time, and you really have to give your craft the proper respect and the proper time. So over years, that develops. Another thing that I did was early on study everybody, whether it's people that you're working with, but study the greats. Study Richard Pryor, George Carlin, everyone, Moms Mabley, everyone that you can think of. Bob Newhart, Stephen Wright, on up through Chappelle. Just study everybody who really owns their craft, And another thing that I would do is when I had my jokes, sometimes I would recite them in other people's styles. I would say to myself, like, how would Stephen Wright deliver this joke? How would George Carlin deliver this joke? Because what that does is those people have very distinct styles, right? Stephen Wright is kind of low key, deadpan, dry. Carlin is more high energy, more physical. So sometimes, like Sam Kinison, whoever it is, think of different styles, and it's really just an exercise for you to say, like, am I getting everything out of this joke that I can be, that fits my style, as you're figuring out your style. Because if you try it in whoever's, fill in the blank, if you try it in Gary Goldman's style or whoever, maybe you'll find one little moment in the joke that wasn't there before. Maybe a pause, maybe a facial gesture, maybe something physical. Maybe you'll be louder because you tend to be quiet, or vice versa. So yeah, I think exploring different people's voices when you're starting out is a good mental kind of exploration.
Hot breath.